Welcome into the 25th episode of The Ivy, as I'm Thomas and I'll be here with you for the next 30 to 40 minutes to dive into everything Cubs related. If you like the Cubs, you've come to the right place, and I'm extremely grateful, especially after a tough week of Cubs baseball, that you took some time out of your busy schedule to join me here. Alright, well tonight we'll be touching on the last week of games against the Pirates and White Sox. Like I said before, it was a pretty disappointing series, along with the NL Central standings and how the rest of the MLB has looked. For more of the Ivy content, be sure to head over to our website at baseballpodcastnet.com, or you can follow me and check out my page on Instagram at the Cubs Wave. And there you can find in my bio the link straight to Spreaker, I should say, which is the app we use to record these podcasts, and you can find all the Ivy podcasts there. So let's get into it. This last week, like I said, the Cubs went 2-4 in their last two series against the Pirates and White Sox. Two winnable series, especially because we took the first game of this last series against the White Sox, but dropped the finale today. The Pirates was a little bit of a different story as the Cubs got destroyed in Game 1. And they ended up losing Game 2 and 3 as well, and luckily took the finale in that one as the bats finally awoke in the last game of the series. But we'll dive into it all here. Let's get into Game 1. It was disappointing. The Cubs lost 18-5, probably the worst game of the season. Adbert Alzolay started this game, and it was the last game he started before being sent down back to AAA since Kyle Hendricks was called up, as he's luckily and thankfully back from injury. However, it's been a tough couple games for Kyle back from injury. Anyways, Adbert was bad in this game. He really looked terrible. He gave up 10 hits and 7 earned runs and only recorded 8 outs in this one. He gave up a walk, did have 3 strikeouts, and his ERA, I think he entered the game at like 2.08, and it jumped all the way to 7.15. I think this was his third start of the year. It was pretty good so far in his first 2 starts and the 1 appearance out of the bullpen, but he got roughed up here against Pittsburgh. And Josh Bell had a crazy game in this one. I want to tip my cap to him. 3 homers for Josh Bell in this one, 7 RBI. He'll be an All-Star coming up in a couple days in the All-Star game. And, you know, being from the NL Central and watching Josh Bell the last few years, it's good to see that he's having a breakout year for the Pirates franchise. Anyways, back to the Cubs. Brad Brock was also terrible in relief, and the whole bullpen was just awful. We even saw Daniel Descalso come in and pitch the 8th inning. He gave up a 2-run homer. Craig Kimbrell gave up 2 homers. One of them was Josh Bell's 3rd homer of the game. Rowan Witt gave up 3 runs. 2 of those are earned. And Brock, like I said, right after Alzolay, gave up 3 earned and 4 total runs. The Cubs did have 13 hits in this game. Their runs came from a Javier Baez 2nd inning solo homer. Javi was very good this week, yet again, with a .357 average in his last 7 games, along with 3 doubles, 2 homers, and a team-leading 6 RBI across the last 7. Another strong week amidst some struggles for the Cubs team overall. A strong week for Javi. Victor Caratini had a 2-run single, and the Cubs actually made it a 7-4 game at the end of the top half of the 4th, yet the Pirates just went crazy with the bats. As like I said, Josh Bell carried the way for them. Chris Bryant had an RBI single, and he also had a great week as well. Chris Bryant in the last 7 games hitting .429. He's 9 for 21 in 5 games with 4 doubles, also 2 walks, and just 6 strikeouts, with an OPS of 1.240 across the last 7 games. So definitely a good week for him along with Baez. But that was it for the Cubs offensively. The Pirates had a crazy amount of hits, 23 hits that scored 18 runs. I want to see what their runners in scoring position numbers were. 8 for 20 with runners in scoring position. The Cubs were 4 for 9. But with how many with how much more traffic the Pirates had on base than the Cubs, they had less men left on base. The Pirates with 8, the Cubs with 10, so that's not a winning formula, especially when you go up 23 hits. Let's move on to Game 2. The Cubs offense still wasn't very good in this one. We were shut out through 8, and Wilson Contreras' RBI double in the 9th got the Cubs finally on the board, but it was over pretty much after the 4th. Adam Frazier's 3-run homer padded the Pirates' lead to 5-0 after 4 innings. As we saw Kyle Hendricks make his first start off the IL. He only went 55 pitches, 3 innings with 2 earned runs, 4 hits, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. He got the loss. Dylan Maples gave up 2 earned. Mike Montgomery gave up an earned run, and he as well. I think he needs to go. Mike Montgomery is just, I usually don't say it about a lot of players, but I think his time is just about done in Chicago. Anyways, not a good game for the Cubs. No one had more than 1 hit. However, the 3 through 8 batters all had 1 hit. Schwarber was 0 for 2 with 2 walks. And pitching for Pittsburgh in this one was Joe Musgrove. He only went 3 innings. He must have got injured or something. But their bullpen was excellent. The only earned run, like I said, was in the 9th inning. So they held us scoreless out of their bullpen for 5 innings in the middle innings, and not a very good bullpen for Pittsburgh. So that was eye-opening for the Cubs offense. Let's move on to July 3rd. This was Wednesday's matchup, and the Cubs dropped just a heartbreaking, just gut-wrenching loss as they led this game 5-4 heading into the bottom of the 9th with Craig Kimbrell taking the mound. And it's not, he got the blown save, but it definitely was not Craig's fault. Let's go through the 9th inning here for Pittsburgh. It was a leadoff ground out. Craig did give up a 1-out walk, but then the next batter was Jung-Ho Gong, and he hit kind of a pop fly to right field. It was a little bit shallow, and Wilson definitely had to run in on it. Yes, that's Wilson Contreras. He was playing right field. It turns out Jason Hayward was unavailable with a back injury, sort of, or back tightness, whatever it is, and KB had the day off too, so a lot of people were calling, and me as well, I was saying that it was Joe's fault for having Wilson out there. Now, let's not forget, Wilson had a great play at the end of the 8th inning to preserve the Cubs' 1-run lead. He threw out the game-tying run on an excellent throw from right field to catcher Victor Caratini to snag the runner at home. But in the 9th, fast forward, he dropped the ball. It was kind of a tough play, but the glove was on the ball. Wilson should have came down with that play. It turned out it was scored a double, like those plays always are, scored as a hit. And then the next batter, it was even worse. Addison Russell was playing second, and he was playing pretty deep, and it was Adam Frazier ground out. And instead of going to first for the out and, Pittsburgh tying the game, he decides to go home way late on the throw. Elias Diaz scored, who's not very fast, showing how far out Addison was on that play. So there was only 1 out then, and the runners on first and third, a pretty tough spot for Kimbrell after 2 errors that weren't ruled as errors. And then Corey Dickerson had, just a regular sac fly to end the game. It was just terrible. The way the Cubs got there in the 2nd inning, Victor Caratini hit his 3rd homer of the year. The Pirates did take a 3-2 lead, but Javi tied it up with a solo homer, his 2nd of the series. And then after Josh Bell's go-ahead homer in the 6th, Caratini hit another homer, his 2nd of the day, 4th of the season, a go-ahead 2-run shot in the 7th, and then the rest of the story. However, July 4th, the 4th of July, was a great day for the Cubs. The Cubs won 11-3, and the long ball was working at the beginning of this game. Through 3 innings, the Cubs had 3 homers. A first inning, Chris Bryant solo homer, his 17th of the season. Albert Almora hit a 2nd inning moonshot, his 8th of the season, to make it a 2-0 game. Pittsburgh did tie the game after 2 innings. Let's see who was pitching here. I think it was it was Quintana. He gave up those first 2 runs in the 2nd to tie the game. However, Wilson Contreras' 2-run homer gave the Cubs a 4-2 lead, and they really did not look back. Pittsburgh was done scoring for the day after 3 innings, and then the Cubs, after Joe Madden got ejected in this one, I forget who was pitching, but he threw up and in to Javi, and Joe did not take kindly to it. I believe it was Jordan Lyles. And then the Cubs rallied and scored 5 runs in the 5th inning. I've never seen Joe get so mad, but I think it was just built up frustration from the previous 3 days of losses, and the Cubs actually were on a 4-game losing streak. But Rizzo's RBI single started that. David Bodie got hit in the head Luckily, he was all right, but that scored a run. Kyle Schwarber had a good eye, scored a run with a walk, and then Javi topped it off with a 2-run single to make it 9-3. And then another thing to add in this game is that Wilson Contreras and Chris Bryant fell one triple shy from the cycle. Through 5 innings, Chris Bryant had 1 homer, 2 doubles, and a single. So through 5 innings and 4 at-bats, he was just the triple away. However, he only had 1 more at-bat the rest of the game. And then the other hero of this one was Robel Garcia. It was his first start in the major leagues. He did get called up the day prior, and I think he had an at-bat as a pinch hitter, but he didn't get on. However, in this game, he was excellent. He started off in the 3rd inning with a second at-bat with his first major league hit with a 2-out triple. He didn't score in the 3rd, but then later on he hit, he hit his first home run. That was in the 6th inning. That was to make it 11-3 game. And Garcia was just a double away from the cycle. So we had 3 players just 1 hit away from the cycle, and I don't think any other player has hit for the cycle in their first major league start. So in that last at-bat, unfortunately, he struck out, but it was definitely fun to watch possible history in the making for Garcia in his first start as the Cubs got back on track with 11-3 W over the Pirates. Quintana, like I said, he gave up those first 2 runs early, and I guess 3 runs early through the first 3 innings, but then he went 4 scoreless and actually finished with 7 innings and less than 100 pitches. He was very efficient. He had 6 strikeouts, only 1 walk, and 6 hits. And then Tyler Chatwood and Steve Cishek both threw spotless innings in the 8th and 9th as the Cubs needed that for their pen. No one got on base in the 8th and 9th for the Pirates as Chatwood and Cishek closed it out. Now let's jump into, Friday we had off, and then yesterday's game against the White Sox, and the Cubs are victorious for their 2nd straight game as they won yesterday 6-3. This game started with a Chris Bryant RBI single in the 1st inning, and this also was the game that we just saw on June 19th, the same pitching matchup between lefty John Lester going up against righty ace Lucas Giolito, coming into this game with a sub-3 ERA. I believe his record was 11-2 or 12-2, something like that. However, last time we faced him, we scored 6 earned runs, and this time again, I shouldn't say again, we'll get into it, because he was good through the first 4 innings, but the Cubs got to him later on in the 5th. Anyways, John Lester gave up a game-tying Jose Abreu RBI single in the 3rd inning after KB's 1st inning RBI single, like I said, off Giolito. But then in the 5th inning, the Cubs' 7 through 9 batters were up. Robel Garcia in the 7th hole. He was DHing, and he started off with a leadoff walk on a 3-2 pitch. And the next 2 batters, David Bodie and Addison Russell, both had the same outcomes, 3-2 pitches, 3-2 pitch walks for Lucas Giolito, as he had a season-high 5 walks in this game. And so after those first 3 batters got on via the walk, Kyle Schwarber had this kind of bloop, squib-looking hit, and he thought it was foul, but it ended up going down the left side and landing fair. That scored 2 runs, and Kyle Schwarber got credited with an RBI double as he hustled to second after, like I said before, he thought it was foul. And then the next batter, Javier Baez, like I said, a great week for Javi El Mago. He had a nice hit down the third base line, snuck fair, scored 2 runs, scored Addy and Schwarber to make it 5-1. And then Rizzo had an RBI single to top off a 5-run 5th inning for the Cubs. They also had 5 walks in this inning. I should mention that Giolito left the game after Javi's 2-run double there to make it 5-1. And unfortunately, 6-1. 5-1. So 6-1 after 5, and unfortunately, the White Sox did come back a little bit. As in the 7th inning, the Cubs committed 2 errors. They had 3 on the game, which was a little bit uncharacteristic for a 6-3 win. But that gave up 2 runs, and then in the 9th, the game-tying run came up to the plate because Craig Kimbrell had a walk, and then he had a strikeout, I believe. but the batter reached, or no, it was a hit by pitch, and then a walk.